Welcome back, Panther fans. I'm David Brown, along with Ryan Graham.
Hey, y'all.
Tim Thurber.
Hello.
And our special guest, Georgia State Digital Media Coordinator Will Owens. And
that's a fancy made-up title, by the way.
State of Atlanta.
Nice.
You ruined our little thingy there, Will.
Hey, you're the one that said some gibberish mishmash right before.
Well, I could have said the full thing that's on the website that I went there, and it's Digital Media Coordinator, parentheses, cross country, women's basketball, softball, track and field, close paren. But I feel like that maybe was a little.
It's a mess.
That's a mouthful right there.
Yeah, so your title is as made up as mine then, Will?
Yeah, pretty much. When Mike brought me on, I was like, can I choose my title? And he was like, yeah, as long as it's nothing outrageous. And so I looked at what other people were having and went with Digital Media Coordinator. It sounded cool.
Excellent. Yeah, my title of my company is Solutions Architect, which is purely an org chart title, so that when they go into sales calls and meetings, they have these names and it sounds all fancy and stuff. I guess like database guy didn't sound good enough for them.
Yeah. Well, the key when they let you pick your own title is to pick what, like to kind of know what your next step is and to know like what title will sound good to your next employer.
Oh, yes. Solutions Architect sounds awesome. I have
Yeah, that's a pretty high up on the org chart too, but I wasn't really referring to you at all. I was talking about Will. So.
Yeah, there you go. So, Will, what is it that you do with Georgia State then, if you're not coordinating digital media?
So I work in the sports information department. So technically I'm an SID, sports information director. I work with those teams that you mentioned, women's basketball, cross country, track and field, softball, and then as a department, we're kind of all helping Allison with football. And then I'm also over the social media. So I manage the GSU Panthers Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram accounts. And then I kind of help come up with set the strategy for the other team accounts, but each individual SID over that sport runs their personal teams accounts.
That's cool. That's pretty awesome. How did you get started? I mean, I don't know your background, so
yeah.
Let me give us all the dirty details. Find out who you are, so that before we start ripping on you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Give you guys some
coming
for you to use later. I started off. I went to college for sports broadcasting. I wanted to do TV and radio. Quickly realized that it wasn't really what I thought it was. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed being behind the scenes more so than in front of the camera or in front of the microphone. And so I
didn't face for it, that's for sure.
I totally get that.
I didn't know that sports information existed as an industry. I had no idea even what it was. But I knew I wanted to work in sports. So one of my fraternity brothers actually was an SID while he was in college at Western Kentucky. And I just asked him if I could shadow him for a football game. And that was my junior year of college. So I started kind of just as a game day assistant, worked my way into an office role as a student assistant my senior year. And it was Albert Wilson's senior year, WKU. It was their last season in the Sun Belt, Georgia State's first season in the Sun Belt. And the day before the team was supposed to leave to come down to Atlanta, the secondary football contact got sick. And so the head SID for football at Western called me at like 10 o'clock on Thursday night. I was like, hey, do you have class tomorrow? And I was like, no, I don't have class Fridays. And he's like, all right, the bus leaves at 6 a.m. He's like, if you want to, like, I need some help this weekend at Georgia State. All for it. Hopped on the bus at 6 a.m. And that's actually when I met Allison George, Mike Holmes, and at the time, Jerry Trickey, who used to be over the department.
Yep.
And so that came in handy. Just a few months later when I graduated and needed a job, I saw Georgia State had a graduate assistant opening and kind of used my contacts. I didn't mess up that game too badly, or else they probably brought me on.
So you've been here for a minute then. You've been here since, guess what, 6 years, 7 years?
6 years. Yeah, I graduated in 2014, and I got here in July of 2014.
Awesome.
I did 2 years.
I feel like we didn't meet until the coaches show, I feel like.
Yeah, I did 2 years as a GA, so I was still working full-time, but I wasn't around as much. And they brought me on full-time when Charlie Taylor retired about 4 years ago now. And so much more active role since then. And that's why I enjoy those coaches shows events, is because I get, usually I just know you guys by what you're tweeting or what you're posting on Facebook or whatever, because that's what I see.
Right.
So actually getting out and getting to meet you in person is that's what I enjoy about the job, is meeting the fans, getting to know the community.
Well, it was mostly just David and me, so.
Well, no, we had a decent small crew. I mean,
Yeah, Mac was always there.
It's a pretty intimate crew, those coaches shows, but that's something that I definitely really enjoyed. One of those cool things about having the Summerhill bars. We talked about those things every week here on the podcast. Ryan, I really did enjoy them quite a bit, and getting to know you and the access that you get to people like Coach Elliott is unprecedented.
It's crazy.
Years after the show, right? Yeah.
Those were the best parts, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Ryan, you're focused on free beer, I think.
Well, it wasn't always free, but there are some generous people that are involved in the Georgia State football program.
That's true. Well, the reason why we have Will here tonight is because there's been some nefarious goings on behind the scenes at Georgia State that
they've been planning press releases for Wednesdays.
We've been doing this podcast for almost a year now, and it seems like we record these things, I think for the most part, every single Tuesday, and that I guess there was a couple exceptions in there. And we get these things come out on Wednesday. We're excited about it. And then around like noon, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, Georgia State releases some bombshell future home scheduling or some other, hire or players, this or that. And we started to think that it was a conspiracy, that Georgia State was waiting. And I think that, Will, you have some insider information you're going to share with us that it actually is true. Georgia State is doing this to us on purpose.
I will. I'm here as an olive branch, if you will, a sign of peace. I talked with Mike earlier. We tried to come up with something that we could drop tomorrow. But no, I will say, I actually saw. I think it was State of Atlanta tweeted right last Tuesday. Like, since we're recorded, I'm sure Georgia State's gonna drop something tomorrow, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then I checked the schedule for Wednesday, and we had something coming out. I was like, oh no.
Then Mike started responding too.
Oh, he was getting into it. Mike Holmes was getting into it. Yeah, I think that Mike Holmes is enemy number one for us when it comes to that kind of stuff. He was taunting pretty big with his meme game and gift game this last week. But yeah, what had happened was, it was kind of a light week last week when I started putting together notes, and so I tweeted out finding out what anybody wanted us to talk about, and Ben Moore responded. It's like the inevitable news or press release that's going to come out on Wednesday.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So then, sure enough, come Wednesday, I think, Will, as you said, you guys aren't going to like us.
I was like, if we actually do it without giving them a heads up, this is going to be bad. So I was like, let me just reply and say, like, at least give you guys a warning that, hey, something's about to come out.
It wasn't huge news anyway.
No, it wasn't.
No.
So it's during an off season when there's absolutely no sports happening whatsoever at all, finding out about a home and home schedule that takes place in 4 years is literally groundbreaking news for us. So,
but I mean, it's more importantly, it's with UConn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
We'll get into that in a minute, but that's a great schedule, I think. So, Will, I got a proposal for you. Here's the deal. You let us know what's going to happen on Wednesday, because it's always Wednesday. You let us know what happen on Wednesday. We'll record this on Tuesday. We won't go live on Facebook. We won't release it until you guys do the press release, and then we'll make our podcasts active for that week, and that way you've got immediate conversation happening about that. So you promise
we might be able to work something out. I'll slide my Venmo in and bless my account a little bit, and we can make it happen.
We will create that a Patreon level for ours that donors can get us the insider information.
There we go. I will say we do not have anything coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, he says that now.
Yeah, tomorrow, like some huge announcement's going to drop.
They're going to announce that the schedule for the entire season has been scrapped, and we're playing UGA here at Georgia State Stadium to open up the season.
And then
that'd be awesome.
UGA 11 more times, and we'll trade off between Athens and Atlanta every other week.
I will say some of them we did plan for Wednesday because it's middle of the week. It can bridge you into the weekend, like engagement wise. However, the Ole Miss announcement, they actually set that release date because
that, if I'm not mistaken, was one that actually came out right before. Like that came out on a Monday, I believe. So
was that one on Monday? I thought that one was a Wednesday too. I can't.
I want to say that was one we actually finally got
Oh,
to
okay.
talk about right when it happened.
We're playing Ole Miss.
Did you forget that, Ryan?
Of course I did, man. When are we playing them in like 2028 or something?
Yeah, it's no time soon.
2026.
Six, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry guys, but I do immediately put that information out of my brain.
That's the one where we play both football and basketball.
Yeah, basketball on Friday,
Oh,
football
yeah.
on Saturday.
As soon as basketball, I think what happened was as soon as basketball mentioned, Ryan just lost all interest and like started focusing on something else.
Ryan's like, who are we playing? What are we talking about?
What?
So yeah, the big news that did come out last Wednesday was scheduled a home and home with UConn, which I mean, personally, I absolutely love the scheduling. Tim, what do you think about it?
I love it. I mean, we're going to replace them, right? So it's a perfect, pick up the game that. I mean, that's what they're saying on the internet, right? On Reddit.
Yeah, so UConn was in the American, the conference we want to be in, we feel like we belong in, and so they left. I mean, potentially. I mean, I don't think we'll be moving conferences that soon, but if we go out there and beat them in those two games, that lets the American know that we're at that level. We're ready to play. I mean, I guess everybody in American was beating up on UConn, so it's not like it'd be that big of an achievement. But.
Well, now be careful because we're gonna lose.
Well, we have time to worry about that. I mean, it's home in 2023 and away. I didn't put the year down. I put the date. I didn't put the year. 2024. Are they here first? Are they here?
I haven't
I was
written
24.
Yeah, so it's
good. You guys are all proving you're jerks. You put it out of your brain too. Yeah.
This is also.
I was gonna say, Ryan, we won't remember any of this in 5 minutes. So
Ryan, you can go ahead and tune out right now because I'm gonna say something you're not gonna care about. So the game is played up there November 2nd, which is the very beginning of basketball season. So maybe we could do another Ole Miss type thing. UConn's a great basketball program, so. Will, I'm going to go ahead and have you slide that one into Charlie to make that happen as well.
Yeah, man.
You're ruining the announcement for tomorrow, David.
I know.
Or breaking some news. So.
We do have a fun connection on our staff. Tim Adams is our one of our football athletic trainers, and he's a very proud UConn graduate.
Excellent.
He was pretty excited for that matchup, and anytime that we get to go against the schools that we graduated from, like when we played Western Kentucky, that's always fun for us to. You can't lose, right? Like obviously we're all cheering for the paycheck, and so we want the state to win. But it's one of those games you get to see old friends, you get to see old coworkers sometimes. So we always enjoy those kinds of things. I know Tim's looking forward to it.
Were you at the West Kentucky bowl game then that we dominated?
Yeah, I was doing social for that game. So that was incredible. That was one of my favorite nights, probably.
I mean, I was physically present, but I couldn't tell you a whole lot.
Just like he's physically present at these podcasts, but can't tell you anything that happened afterwards.
Well, I rode the bus there, the charter buses.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We did a tailgate in the back of that bus, and I was pretty sloppy. Also, they were serving alcohol in the stadium, so I kept it going.
It sounded like you had a great time.
Oh yeah, and I just drunkenly passed out on the bus on the way home. It was great.
Up in Atlanta, right?
That's right.
That's the way to do it right there.
My best bus tailgate story was my junior year, sometime at Western Kentucky. We made our first bowl game while I was there. Willie Taggart was the head coach. And
wait, you made your first bowl game back when you were in college, and we've been to like 3 since then.
Yeah, so WKU joined FBS in like 2010, I believe, or 2008 or something like that.
I don't think I realized that Western Kentucky was that new to FBS.
Yeah. So when I first got there, they were awful. I mean, Willie Taggart was going into cafeterias, giving away tickets, just trying to get people to come.
We know what that's like.
It's very similar. And honestly, I kind of used that in my job interview. When I applied here, I was like, hey, like this is something that, I've experienced, we can help with, blah, blah. We got the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl. and up in Detroit, Michigan, and it's just not the best bowl game, but you have to go because it's the first one, right? So they had all these student buses, and it like was a complete blizzard in Ohio going up to bowling. So we didn't even make it until after kickoff. Like all the buses got there super late, and then we just got creamed by Central Michigan. But the bus ride was a lot of fun, I guess. So.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pay a lot of attention to football programs outside of like the big players before Georgia State got a program, and then really didn't pay attention to anything but Georgia State after that. So I didn't realize that Western Kentucky was relatively new move up, not far behind us. I thought they were had been around quite a bit.
Yeah, so it was actually kind of weird because my like I said, like my first season at WKU, I think 0-12 or 1-11 or something like that.
You know that well. Yep.
We know about that. Yeah.
First year at Georgia State, similar thing, and then
first year Georgia State. What are you talking about, man?
No, my first year.
Our first.
Yeah. So wait, is it your fault, Will? Did you bring that?
No, we got good after. That's what I was saying. We got better every year when I got to Georgia State, except pick up in between.
Yeah.
It was a very similar trajectory for both schools.
Yeah, actually, Western Kentucky, when Georgia State moved up and joined the Sun Belt, Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee were two of the schools I was excited about getting on the schedule, which we only got that we got that one game in football.
1 year. Yeah.
1 year.
We never even played Middle Tennessee, though, I don't think, because they left the year earlier.
They left the year before Western.
I do remember the basketball game we had. Western Kentucky's basketball team was supposed to be really good that year, and we came up there like curb stomped you guys.
I was running stats during that game, and it was one of the most embarrassing games I've ever watched. I remember because everyone there knew who Ryan Harrow was, right? Because he had played at UK. So all of us knew who Harrow was. We all knew Georgia State was good, but we were just so used to having a good basketball team there. And then Georgia State came in with RJ, and I remember Harrow pulled off this like just absolutely built the almost like it was a reverse layup, but he basically went out of bounds under the basket and then like reversed it in. And
I think I remember that. Yeah.
At that point, everyone just kind of looked around like, this is bad. This might be really bad.
Leading up to that game, that was the big game for us. Like, and this was going to be a tone setter for the season because it was relatively early in the conference schedule, if I'm not mistaken. And I was nervous about it. I'm like, I want this win. And it came back one of those games where when you're scared to keep it close and then you come out, as a blowout kind of win, you're like beating your chest, holding your head high, like, yeah, we're the big man in town now. So
yeah. Mike Holmes never lets me forget about that game. He reminds me of it daily.
At least I guess Mike Holmes is doing one thing that's not jerky.
Oh man, he's not gonna let me come back to work after this.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh yeah, well he'd have to listen to this to know about it. So
he does listen to you guys.
Good, Mike. Thanks for listening. Give us a heads up on the info. Back to the UConn.
Join our Patreon. Last calls where we talk about all the really important stuff.
Yeah, we drop all the news.
All that important off-season content's there in last call.
Really just back to UConn and drunk and F-bombs, but
I had some more questions in there. So November in Connecticut, in East Hartford, Connecticut, you guys want to go to that game? I mean, is that a game you'd want to go to?
I'll tell you, I'm staying in the press box that game. I'm not going down to the field.
You think it'd be too cold? I looked at the temperatures up. It said highs in the 50s, lows in the 30s. That's not horrible.
I just assume everything north of Virginia is cold after September.
Well, it looks like
it's cold.
Based off of that, obviously, that we're looking at averages here, and who knows what's going to happen. The next, pandemic may be, I don't know, climate change killing us or something. I don't know. But it looks like the temperatures in Connecticut drop big time, like in that second week in November. Like it's 50s, 30s, like the first couple of weeks. And then it's when you just start getting like the highs in the 30s or 20s and stuff like that. So it could still be it could be a freezing game, but it shouldn't be too bad. But I've never had a reason to go to Connecticut before. So I'm like,
I've not been either. I'm excited.
I can tell you that I've been to Connecticut, and I was working at a place called Stu Leonard's, and for lunches they had a $19.99 whole lobster, French fries, corn on the cob. It was $19.99, and I ate it every single day.
That's funny you say that because I was going to say that I'd heard that everything in Connecticut was super expensive. Is how small.
Not lobster. Lobster's not expensive.
Good. Will, John Weaver in the chat wanted to make sure that you know that same year that we beat you guys, that blowout win in basketball, that we also beat you guys to win the Sun Belt Championship that year. So I was up against you guys. So yeah, just so let Mike know to give you crap about that one as well.
Hey, I'm a Panther now, so those were the good old days. But I'm all. What was our tagline back when? I think all blue, all in. That was like 2014's slogan, I think.
Yeah, I like the all blue, all in.
I woke up and put that shirt on today. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Speaking about being up in Connecticut, this doesn't really matter whatsoever at all, but it's something I noticed. We play Rhode Island. I think it's the week before or the week after. We play Rhode Island at home. The week before we play UConn in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Those two schools are 73 miles apart and are both traveling 1,000 miles within a week of each other to come down and play us.
They should just carpool, right?
It doesn't really matter at all, but I'm like, that's kind of amusing how close those two schools are, and they're both coming down here to play us within a week of each other.
I was like, for the most part, outside of those two games, for the most part, Charlie and the other people responsible for setting these schedules have tried to go for like a more regional approach. And so I think you see that with Vanderbilt, Carolina, East Carolina, those teams.
Yeah, that's actually something that I put down here. I follow the schedule pretty closely. I go to FBS schedules or FB schedules multiple times a day. I just study that kind of stuff. I'm a nerd about that kind of stuff. But I didn't really notice it until, because it's UConn scheduling closed out the 23 and 24 out of conference schedule. We've been quietly putting together a pretty awesome out of conference scheduling. So I'm not going to worry about this year because who knows what's going to happen this year. But next season, we have no FCS opponents and 2 P5s in UNC and Auburn. Then our others are Army at home again, which is, I think, is great awesome. G5 scheduling. And then Charlotte, whatever. We begin we're in the middle of a 4-game series with Charlotte. And I remember that series was announced. I'm like, that's awesome. And now I'm like, that's the worst game on our out of conference schedule the next several years. So I think that's a great year. And then 2022, again, no FCS teams, 2 P5 teams in South Carolina and UNC, at Army and Charlotte, because that thing's still going on. So, I mean, that's a pretty good combination right there. And then 23 is the Rhode Island, the UConn. Then we have LSU and Charlotte again. And then
you don't like that Charlotte series, do you?
And then
apparently not.
But then
he has loved it literally every other time we've talked about this. He is like,
I love that series.
Looking at these
except for the new logo, right?
It's literally logo's horrible.
But that's the problem. That's the difference. Is the logo.
Looking at the schedule, literally that is the worst team on these schedules. And so the following year we have Tech, Vanderbilt, Tech, Vanderbilt at home, at UConn, and then FCS Chattanooga. I mean, like FCS Chattanooga is like just playing Charlotte again. It's whatever.
Well, that's where Rusty Wright is the head coach now.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that's had something to do with that one.
Well, we've got so great. The next 4 years are great scheduling. It's awesome.
What are we fully booked through, David? Like
24.
26? 24?
24. 25s. We should try to get UT on the schedule because we're playing Memphis and Vandy. Get all the Tennessee.
Yeah, why not?
I think you're like looking down on Charlotte is just a testament to how good the schedule is, because it's still a good scheduling.
I agree.
It's like UAB, right? It's a similar thing.
Charlotte's gonna be a good team with Coach Healy there.
I agree with you, Ryan. That I guess what I was trying to say was when we scheduled that 4-game series with Charlotte, I was all about it. And now 2 or 3 out of those 4 seasons, that's the worst game on our out of conference schedule.
But it's still like a regional school, a peer university. Like there's a lot of good reasons to play them.
A winnable game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
I'll say there's going to be some good games. Charlotte's a program to keep an eye on. They're definitely on the upward trajectory.
So we start a 4-game series with UAB, which is my other team that I want to become a huge rival with in 2027. So hopefully, if we're still doing this at that point, or if anybody's talking to me at that point, I'll be complaining about how UAB is the worst team on our schedule, and we have so much better opponents for the rest of our out-of-conference schedule.
It's very likely to happen, actually, for you.
Or more than likely, yeah. If there's something to complain about, I will find it and fixate on it.
You have been very outspoken about UAB in particular. Charlotte is just like one step below UAB, I feel like, in like what you've talked about. UAB is something you've been excited about for like some years now.
UAB just makes too much sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too close. It's too similar to university. Atlanta and Birmingham, good towns together. Birmingham's got a great brewery scene now, so I want to go visit there as much as possible.
Everywhere has great brewery scenes now.
Yeah, but I didn't lose my wedding ring in those cities. I lost my wedding ring in Birmingham going to breweries. That was awesome.
Did you see?
Hey, it's my wedding koozie.
Hey.
Yeah. Was it backwards? Sorry.
No, yeah, it was fine. No, the UAB makes sense. And then UAB, everyone knows who UAB is. Roddy White came from them. Charlotte is, they moved up to FBS after we did. So they're more of a new program than we are. Or a younger program, whatever. So what do you guys anything else about the UConn scheduling?
Nah.
So one thing I noticed is that UConn's independent after they dropped AAC for football. I was looking at their schedule. Being independent has been hard for them. They have only a few games scheduled for 2021. I don't know. They announced a game with Vandy at Vandy the same day that ours got announced, but they're struggling. So independent's not working out well.
It's kind of harder for some of the like lower tier P5 schools. Like Notre Dame gets away with it because everybody wants to play them anyway, and they're like loaded with cash. They can get anybody they want on their schedule.
And even before the ACC deal, Notre Dame had like those fixed games they played every season, like Southern California,
USC, right?
Yeah. So they already had those fixed, like 4 or 5 games that were fixed. They only had to fill a back schedule, and any P5 will take Notre Dame whenever they can get them. So
isn't like UMass independent right now too, and like struggling heartily at that?
UMass is independent, and yeah, they're not good. They were supposed to join the Sun Belt. Well, not supposed to. There was talk of them joining the Sun Belt at one point.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh shoot, who was I going to say? BYU is independent, right?
Yeah, but they're
New Mexico State, former Sun Belt.
New Mexico State, I bet they're struggling, but BYU is like loaded, so they're probably fine too.
Well, BYU is Notre Dame light.
Yeah, exactly. They just whoever they want, they just pay them.
It's just and then them as being out where they are. It's traveling is not cheap. You got to get a flight to wherever you're going.
Yeah.
And then your other favorite team, Ryan, is also independent, but they have loads of money.
Who's that? Oh, come on, man. Let's not even not bringing it up.
Didn't say the name.
Yeah, they're also loaded. That's true. And they're on our schedule, aren't they?
I don't think we have Liberty on our
schedule. We had a future schedule with them.
No, I think we do not have Liberty on our schedule right now.
Well, we'll know tomorrow if we do.
Yeah. Is that the big news coming tomorrow? Is that Liberty's joining the Sun Belt? Is that what we're going to find out?
If you could pull any strings and just always sabotage that plan, that would be great. I would love to never play Liberty in anything ever. So.
Speaking of, we talked about the basketball scheduling with the Ole Miss thing and doing the same thing with UConn. We should totally try to do that with our out-of-conference that come here to Atlanta. We don't have a lot of out-of-conference games that take place during out-of-conference football games that take place during basketball season. But if we could get like other teams, especially when the Convocation Center is built and you just like walk from the football stadium over to the Convocation Center, maybe stop up at Halfway Crooks for a pint or two beforehand, that'd be one hell of a day.
Ryan would still be at Halfway Crooks and not make it to the Convocation Center, probably.
Yeah, but they'd have the game on the TV there, so it'd be fine.
It's like, well, the Convocation Center is a half-mile walk from here, and my house is like 80 feet from here. So.
Yeah. Also, if we had a football game earlier that day, I'm like ready for bed.
Yeah. What would make more sense to do the basketball game first and then the football game, or vice versa?
But I want to be tailgating. So.
Right.
So you're gonna
As someone who has worked a multiple event day before, I don't wish it on any staff member ever.
Will, I understand where you're coming from, but you work for us, and we want this and make it happen.
Why can't they just play on Friday?
I think what I'm
Friday,
trying to say
Saturday.
here is I don't want that. So
Yeah,
I'd be good with a Friday game.
I want Friday, Saturday. I'll take that.
But yeah, I say a Friday, Saturday, like what we have at Ole Miss. That makes sense. But and like let's do the same thing, man. I thought a huge party, big rager after the game at the Convocation Center at Summerhill afterwards, and then get up early morning and do the whole thing over the tailgate party over there on the bricks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that becomes more of a trend, or if that. Honestly, I don't even know how it came to be, or if it happened by accident, or if it was kind of planned that way. But it'll be interesting to see if that's what we try to do more often.
It's strange because from what I know or from what I've seen, that ADs schedule football games, but head coaches schedule basketball games. So
I think that's correct. Yeah.
This far in the future, like if we already had Ole Miss on the schedule to play out there, and Coach Lanier's putting out their schedule, like, oh yeah, let's do that. It'd be a good old time. That's great. But no, they scheduled that out. What was it? 6 years from now. I mean, in theory, Coach Lanier's not here in 6 years because he's so good that he's gone on to greener pastures. I mean, from what we've seen this year, I'd love to have him around that long. But I mean, Coach Hunter was here for 8 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get the schedule, David. We got LSU 11/18/2023. So we got a basketball game there on Friday.
That is the only.
Do it.
That is the only out-of-conference football game we have scheduled that falls during basketball season. So I say, yeah, let's do it. We could save money. We'll put the basketball team on the same charter as the football team. There's only like 6 of those guys, so it's not that big of a deal, you know. Put them in the storage underneath the bus, or I don't know. Do we fly to like New Orleans or Baton Rouge, or do we?
For football, we fly anything over 4 hours usually.
Okay.
so, yeah.
That makes sense. How do I get on one of those flights?
Oh yeah, because you hear about some of the big dollar donors that like.
Yeah, not that way. I don't want to be a big dollar donor. Right?
Yeah. Well, what's big? What is big for Georgia State even? Like.
I couldn't even tell you what it would take. I'm not 100%.
I think on one of the old PAC donor things, $10,000 annual donation got you an away game.
Like a trip.
Yeah. But it was you didn't get to pick the away game. So basically, it's going to be like, oh no, we have 2 guys that are sick this week, so there's 2 spots available. You can take their spots on the plane. We're not paying any extra money for you.
ULM, congrats!
Those trips are pretty cool because you get to avoid airport security if it's a charter, which is always nice. You literally just bus right on up to the plane. You get off. It's random screening, and so it's usually a competition with the support staff of who's going to get pulled for random screening. I got lucky last year; I didn't get pulled a single time. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. There's Gatorade or Powerade, usually like a sandwich or something waiting for you when you get to the seat. No,
and you already packed your little mini bottles of vodka to go into that Gatorade, so you're set.
The random screening, you never got randomly screened, so you always got away with it.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I can't give away too many of my secrets on here, else Allison will find out what I do. So.
The first time I ever flew after 9/11, which was like a year or 2, like I just didn't fly a lot back then. I still don't fly a lot. But the first time I flew after 9/11 was like 2 years later. And it's still pretty strict for the security. I mean, it's still pretty strict for the security, but they were still doing like the random pull aside and screening stuff. And I was flying to Memphis from Memphis. I was flying to Memphis that 45-minute flight. And I got stopped. So I got pulled aside for random screening on the way there, and I got stopped on the way back as well. And I kind of joked to the lady, I'm like, "Wow, you guys got me coming and going." And she kind of leans down real quiet, just, "We always stop the cute ones." And I'm like, "All right, that's a greatest response ever there, you know."
Nice.
That's awesome.
Lying. I could have had like a horn coming out of my head or whatever. I'd believe her. Like, oh yeah, she just thought I was a good guy. I like it.
The other thing I found out last year that I had no idea of is some of the pilots will custom name some of the route locations on the flight plan. And so one of our flights last year, they're all like Georgia State related. Like they're all 5-letter codes. So when I was like, one of our radio engineers is big into like flight tracking and everything. So he was the one pulling it up, and one was like state, one was like COBBB for Charlie Cobb, and like each location was like a different like school. And so I don't know if every pilot does that. I only saw it on that one flight, but I thought it was pretty
That's
interesting.
kind of cool.
Yeah,
That
that's
is cool.
You get some inside information here. I like it.
So when she stopped you and said we only stop the cute ones, did she then like put the glove on and go to town?
We'll save that for last call.
Yeah. And which airport was this in?
Yeah.
Memphis Airport.
He's like, I gotta plan a flight.
Yeah.
Memphis Airport that has like those electric sidewalk that is kind of the same thing they have in Hartsfield, but they have them for like 20 feet. It's like it doesn't go very far. I'm like, just walk the 20 feet between like waiting for somebody else, just like stand there on the little moving sidewalk. You could have
Those
walked.
people
That
drive me
entire
nuts,
way.
man.
Yeah.
Like walk. Jesus.
You need to look up. Henry Rollins has an entire bit about the moving sidewalk and his experiences in the airport. It includes body checking people off of the moving sidewalk. So yeah.
He did like multiple airports. It was a weird little series he did.
Yeah, it was good stuff though. I like it.
I mean, everything Henry Rollins does is good, but I thought it was a weird choice.
His best part was when he was in Jackass doing the moving tattoo
The
parlor.
tattoo, yeah.
Directing the moguls out in like, is it called moguls when it's on sand? I don't know. The dunes out
Yeah.
in the
They're
desert.
on like a dune buggy thing, yeah.
Dune buggy thing, and they're like tattooing. I think it was Bam Margera. They're tattooing like a smiley face on him.
It's the
And
bald-headed
bloody
guy.
splatter in his arm afterwards.
It's the real crazy guy that has the picture of somebody on his back.
Steve-O, and it's a picture of himself.
Yeah, Steve-O with Steve-O on his
Him
back. That's
doing
right.
this on his own back.
Yeah, it was Steve-O getting the Henry Rollins. Man, you know what? If Henry Rollins was willing to give me a tattoo on a dune buggy in the desert, I would do it.
Well, to be fair, Henry Rollins was driving the Doom buggy. So
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot
Anyway,
that.
off topic a bit.
A little bit.
Because we never do that, ever.
No.
You guys got anything else about the UConn schedule? I'm excited about it. I think it's a great schedule. It could very easily be, passing of the torch, passing the baton from one American team to the next. Oh,
I like him going.
The way Will smiles. We're going to get an announcement tomorrow. American confirmed on State of Atlanta live.
Anna has already backed out, and that is already a win in the win column.
There you go. See, there was a Sun Belt announcement this past week. It was like a non-statement statement. They basically came out and said that they're not going to start fall sports until September 3rd, which is the date that we moved the Murray State game. And I looked and I looked and I looked, and I couldn't find any other matches that were scheduled before that. I think maybe soccer may have had something.
I think some soccer and volleyball teams had like exhibitions or scrimmages.
But our volleyball is not Sun Belt, right? Aren't we in a different conference for volleyball?
Or Sun Belt.
Is it Sun Belt?
Well, beach volleyball, we're not.
It's
Beach volleyball is CCSA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah, but
That might be what you're thinking of.
But the weird thing is, it was literally like a 3 or 4 sentence press release about the fall sports, and they have nothing said about how it impacts it, how many sports are impacted, how many players are impacted. It was like, we're delaying the start of fall sports September 3rd. Like, what does that affect? Nothing.
So some organizations have goals of how many press releases to put out. Like every week, we're going to put out something,
and that's fine. Just but put out something. They put out nothing. It was a non-statement statement.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? We're probably not going to do anything tomorrow. We'll see.
When does fall sports start again? Let's announce we're moving everything back to that date.
When did fall sports? When were they supposed to start? They didn't put that in there at all.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is a bunch of CYA from the schools and conferences and organizations, and I mean, as much as you can prepare for stuff like this, none of us could have ever been ready for what is happening in the sports landscape right now. So literally everything that people are doing, whether it's at the conference level or the school level, it's brand new to anything I've ever had to do before.
Do you have any insider information, or are you allowed to talk about like the plans that are going to go forward at like football games?
Other than what we put out in that article, that's what's been kind of.
I think I read articles.
Ryan's already forgotten about that podcast.
You got to spoon feed Ryan absolutely everything, and then when he's actually there at the event, he's gonna be like, "What's going on today?"
So as of right now, we're doing 50% capacity for football games.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna
and-
everyone who bought a ticket already is gonna be able to get in. No problem. Got it.
And
It's
there's
just
going
not
to be
You're not guaranteed.
Yeah, basically, if you want to sit, so everyone's going to be spread out throughout the stadium, and then there's different options available. If you want to sit um, like closer to certain groups, then the ticket office will work with you to make sure that you're at least in the same section. I don't know how many seats we're going to have in between each group, but that's the plan as of right now, and that's kind of everything that we're doing is based around that plan.
The like mezzanine level, the club level seats, that's gonna be open though, right?
I don't know if that was specified.
Okay. I know there was some question about that because it's technically inside.
It's inside space. Yeah, I think what you're gonna. Yeah, basically what you're gonna see at a football game is increased signage everywhere, just reminding people, hey, like be smart, be responsible, be adults about this, make good decisions, and then a lot more like sanitation stations placed around the stadium, around the conference level.
Also hand out Georgia State branded masks as people come in. That would be great.
Yeah, I think that might be in the works as well.
Cool.
Georgia State mask and Georgia Southern toilet paper. It's all we need.
And the other thing that our operations staff has had to kind of get creative with is egress and whatever the other term is. They use fancy terms.
Ingress and egress.
Ingress and egress.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so there's going to be different routes to make sure that people are not crammed into one gate trying to get in and out.
Oh yeah, well, there's enough gates for sure. So
that's one of the luxuries of our stadium is that points and a lot of exit points. But it's going to be unique, and
is there gonna be like a time stamped on my ticket, like this is when you're supposed to come in?
Possibly that might be one of those solutions.
It's not gonna work for me.
As I say, yeah, we need to let Tyler know that Ryan's going to be staying for like about 15 minutes after kickoff.
I was about to say, if one of the best parts about Georgia State is that if people do have issues, like Tyler is the tickets guy. Mike is the sports info guy. Like, you guys have access to all of us. So that's what I want to encourage our fans is like, if there's anything that's going wrong that you feel like needs to be corrected or maybe ideas for something that should be better, like all of our email addresses are available on the website.
Ideas? We've got zillions of ideas. Come on.
We've used some of y'all's ideas. I don't so I think the access that you can get at Georgia State, you don't get this at bigger schools.
Unprecedented, absolutely. And that is a reason to be a fan of the school that you went to with Georgia State. Like, there's a lot of Georgia State fans or Georgia State alum that went to come on, I'm saying. There's a lot of Georgia State alum fans of Georgia or Tech or Bama or whoever they grew up there, who their family went to.
Who would be a fan of Georgia if they went to Georgia State?
Great. Yeah, right. Those are the worst, especially those that are from Athens. But if you are a fan of college football and you follow another program, but you went to Georgia State, get in with Georgia State because you will be able to have the time of your life doing things you could never do. Like, there is no way that I could go to a UGA game and walk up to the athletic director and just start a conversation. But sure enough, Charlie Cobb is there and he's open, and there's ways to get access.
Kirby's not buying you a beer at the bar after a radio show.
That's for sure, absolutely. It's the best. Georgia State is like a great place to be as a college football fan, college basketball fan, a college sports fan in general. The access is ridiculous. Those spring tour things where all the coaches would come and just hang out and have a drink and chill with you, you're not getting that anywhere else.
You guys haven't had Kirby Smart buy you a beer?
If Kirby Smart wants to buy me a beer, I'll let him buy me a beer.
Sure.
And then I'm going to ask him why he's not scheduled.
Loaded.
So, anyway. What were we talking about, supposedly? We were talking about, there was Athlon did their conference power rankings. I'm not sure if there's much to talk about this, but it was something to talk about. And out of the 10 conferences, Ryan, where does Sun Belt come in?
Sun Belt comes in out of how many conferences?
How many conferences are there in FBS?
10? 10.
Something like that.
Yeah, so we came in.
Well, there's the P5 and the G5, and let's just say they don't use numbers the same way that Big 12 does.
8.
It's a good number. They ranked Sun Belt 9.
So above CSA?
Ahead of MAC, but behind Conference USA, and I think it's an easy argument to put Sun Belt ahead of Conference USA.
Yeah, no, I thought I actually expected it to be the opposite when you said that. I thought we'd be ahead of CSA and MAC would be ahead of us.
Well, I think that where they missed up was obviously Georgia State's so much better than Western Kentucky but in Conference USA, but they somehow.
I'm not going to argue with you. I think Georgia State's the best team in the Sun Belt. So.
Oh, you've been drinking that blue Kool-Aid. They're putting something in the water there at Georgia State Stadium.
It must be good.
Hey, I'm just saying. You take away injuries last year, and we were 6-1.
Look, if you take away App State and Ooh La La and whoever else is ahead of us,
we didn't play Ooh La La last year.
I know, but you got to take them out to consider us the best.
Oh, gotcha. No. All you got to take out is a Dan Ellington injury, and
exactly
true.
We were up 21-0 on App State.
Like that Monroe game was not going as planned. It was a back and forth. But I feel like a healthy Dan wins that game.
Yeah.
And Dan actually confirmed that on Instagram that if he wasn't injured, we would have won the whole thing. So
well, if Dan says it must be.
I don't know what other evidence you need other than that. We're solid.
We'll
win it all.
Wait, he tweeted it? Because
he posted on Instagram.
He posted on Instagram
on his Instagram takeover, the football account. Yeah, Dan seems to be the most genuine and honest and awesome guy I've ever seen before. So if he says that we would have definitely won the Sun Belt, I can only believe we would have won the Sun Belt.
Dan is one of the best athletes that I've ever worked with, as far as like off the field stuff. Obviously, we all know how talented he is, but I mean, he was always willing to do anything that we asked him to do as far as media interviews and videos and stuff. And I mean, you guys watched him on the sideline. Like, his energy is so contagious. So for Coach Elliott to bring him onto the coaching staff now and let him kind of work with this young group of quarterbacks, I think that was one of the best moves that Coach Elliott could have done, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think that having Coach Dan Ellington in that locker room with those quarterbacks and those wide receivers, to be able to tight ends, to have him, offensive line, like the entire team, just to have his energy and his positivity, his knowledge of the game. Yeah, I am so happy that Dan is still with the program this season. I think it's awesome.
We found out that he was going to get hired early in the spring, I feel like, and for due to
really, because we found out in the fall.
well, there you go. You guys had the scoop on me then. But for whatever reason, we had to wait until we graduated to announce, and that was one of the hardest things to like not talk about, but also be excited about.
And then you went and announced it on a Wednesday after we recorded the episode.
Yeah, I think Mike actually came to me and said, "Hey, find out when State of Atlanta's broadcast this week, and then we'll announce it the next day."
Damn you, Mike Holmes.
Sounds like him.
Actually, I got a Mike Holmes story. It's not a great story, but it's a story that is randomly Mike Holmes. I was doing a barbecue competition up in Lawrenceville. I don't even remember how many years ago it was. And I'm up there and I'm talking to the team that's next to me. And I'm talking to a buddy of the team that's next to me. And he's talking about football or something. I'm like, well, I'm one of those, rare gems of a Georgia State fan. And he's like, oh, yeah, I go to Georgia State games. I'm like, yeah, cool. And we started talking about it. He's like, never pay for a ticket to a Georgia State game. And I'm like, why? He's like, my buddy Mike, he'll get you free tickets to a Georgia State game. And I'm like, well, I've had season tickets since the very beginning. He's like, no, you don't need those. My buddy Mike. And it turns out it was Mike Holmes.
I actually know about the exact person you're talking about. Mike tells me it's the best barbecue in Georgia or something like that.
Yeah, mine is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's talking about yours. Yeah.
Who won the competition? But also, this was.
I did so bad. It was a competition. It's a.
David, Nobody here knows how.
No one knows. Say you
All
want
you
it all.
have to do
No, I'm
is
gonna be honest with you. It was horrible. I came to the city tournament, which means you've got to cook pork shoulder, chicken, ribs, and brisket. And I hate
Chicken?
brisket. I hate brisket.
You hate brisket.
Beef is not barbecue.
No, I agree with you there, but it's delicious regardless.
Whatever. So I came in second to last in pork shoulder. I came in second to last in chicken. I came in second to last in ribs, and I was like top 10 in brisket.
I was gonna say, learn to cook a brisket because brisket's delicious. Whether you call it barbecue or not, that shit's good.
Can we do a quick redo of the intro so I don't mess it up this time?
No.
You just crack 'em as you go. Crack 'em as you go.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
the best sound. The best sound.
Wow.
That was horrible. That was ridiculous.
Messed it up. What is that?
Also, I don't think that your mic
compass.
where your camera is. That may have had something to do with it.
Oh.
What else we got, man?
Who else cares about the Athlon Power or conference rankings? Whatever.
It's wrong. That's all you have to know.
Oh yeah, we didn't even get into that. You just asked me, and then we started talking about
I
brisket.
wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it, to be honest with you, because it's kind of fitting. I think Sunbelt should be higher. What do you think, Tim?
I think it should be at least one slot higher, 8th, maybe 7th. I don't know.
Yeah, one thing I thought was kind of weird, and this has nothing to do with us, was Pac-12 came in as the last P5 team. That was kind of surprising. I kind of think of them as like 3-ish. If you're just like thinking about it without putting any teams in there, kind of thinking of them as being better.
I think what's interesting is I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but the Sun Belt has one of the best bowl records in recent years.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's kind of something you can use to say, like, hey, like when the Sun Belt has an opportunity to go up against these other G5 conferences, we have a winning record in those games that are, those important end-of-the-year games. So those rankings are always interesting to me because, if people that don't watch a lot of G5 football, it's kind of difficult to just jump right in and all of a sudden rank everybody accurately. Phil is the guy that actually does a ton of research and usually does really good in-depth analysis for G5 teams. But that's one thing I always get so frustrated on is when so-called experts for college football, you can tell that they don't watch G5 football because when they start talking about it, they just have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, every now and again you get like a really good one where you're like, oh, you've been paying it, like you actually
you can tell
did some reresearch here.
And then you do your own research on the author and you find out they went to a G5 program.
Yeah.
And actually spend a little more time on what they were doing there. Yeah, it's hard. And on one hand, I can't blame them. It's the Bamas and Ohio States and Michigans, the Notre Dames, the Georgias of the world that write those paychecks. But the people that are actually passionate about college football acknowledge and know that there's some quality football being played at the G5 level. And yeah.
I think there's just still a lot of perception. The Sun Belt's the lowest or one of the lowest, and the Conference USA is still ahead. And it's going to take a lot to change that perception. I don't know what it's going to take, but it's the easy out too, right? Everyone thinks it. So
I think we're 1 or 2 years out because I think we're clearly better if you're paying attention.
Well, I think also the difference is Sunbelt, when we joined Sunbelt, it was the promote from FCS conference. It was there's no other option. We can't get anybody else. And now when they're talking about, especially in this year, we're talking about what it looks like with these conference being spread out across large regions. They're looking at Sunbelt and saying, no, this is the conference that could be picking from other conferences and not promoting up to get more members. And there was a lot of talk about we talked about it here, the Sun Belt and the Conference USA merger type deal, which is ridiculous. I get it. But there is an argument to be made at 10 football members that, if we want to go to 12, there's a legitimate conversation to be had with some Conference USA teams about coming here rather than Conference USA just plucking from Sun Belt, which is historically what's been happening. So
it all comes down to the budgets for the athletic departments. And CUSA is kind of in a really tough situation with their current TV contract. And that's I think that's really what's allowed the Sun Belt to being on ESPN Plus and being just readily available. It's kind of allowed the Sun Belt to get a little bit more exposure. But when you look at the athletic budgets, it's still going to be, we're still a little ways away from matching some of the fundraising abilities of those schools that are just slightly above where we are, where we want to be. And that's kind of where all the emphasis is. But CUSA, I don't know how many years left they have on their current TV deal, but when they renegotiate, I think that's going to be a big turning point, the next kind of turning point with the conferences.
Do you guys have the data to actually compare like really like the raw fundraising numbers and not just like the announced budget?
I don't see that. I would have to imagine the ADs probably have that at their disposal. Okay. They get together at the conferences.
Yeah, because like announced revenue is, it's a game of accounting that you know.
And it's also, a lot of schools have protected funds that aren't technically like they're like athletic funds.
Yeah.
So some of their budget's a little bit hidden from others.
Yeah, right on.
Stuff like that, it makes it difficult. But
private schools versus public schools and all that stuff too.
Exactly. Like no one knows what Duke is actually bringing in.
Right. David, what's going on, man?
Sorry, yeah.
I was just trying to figure out, doesn't Conference USA have some weird TV deal? It's like
it's not
CBS something and Facebook and
they're on Stadium sometimes.
I don't know what that is. I literally have no idea what that is.
I only know what it is because I think Georgia State basketball is on it for one of the tournament we played
in the Bahamas, right?
Yeah. I was like, what is this? I like it because it has our team on it. And then I never saw us on it ever again.
The CUSA negotiated that deal right when streaming was kind of exploding, whereas the Sun Belt had the luxury of kind of getting behind that explosion, and that's why the ESPN deal was really favored by a lot of schools, is because you can get ESPN Plus on your mobile device. You can watch every single one of our games for one subscription across the league. I'm a big fan of it. It makes it easy to follow. I don't mind paying, what is it, like $5 a month for ESPN Plus.
I was pretty anti ESPN Plus just because ESPN3 was not an additional cost for me, and so when it got moved from ESPN3 to ESPN Plus, I was like, you guys are full of shit. I hate you. So
I got no problem with it. I like the ESPN thing. It's $5. There's all kinds of other stuff, and there's other Georgia State sports you can watch. I've watched soccer. I've watched other things.
I should just do the Disney combo thing. Yeah. Because I already do Disney Plus.
I was already paying for ESPN Plus and Hulu when Disney Plus came out, so I paid a couple of dollars more to have Star Wars and Marvel at my disposal whenever I want.
I don't do Hulu, but I'm getting rid of YouTube TV because it was $50, which was already like on the cusp. But they added like 13 channels that I don't want and made it 65, and I'm like, you guys are just cable now. Like you guys are cable. Exactly. Like I'm getting out of this. So I'm dropping them after this month.
Well, I think that will do it for the episode this week.
Fair.
A great cliffhanger ending. What's Ryan going to sign with next week on his TV package?
It's the Disney bundle. It's not a mystery. I already said that.
We are going to head over to Last Call, which this week we're not going to be streaming on Facebook, but we will open it up to any of our viewers that want to be part of it. So as I posted in the chat, let us know if you want to be part of it, and I will send you a link. But that's it for this week. You guys got any final words?
Nope.
Well, till next Wednesday, right?
Exactly.
Tomorrow.
Well, thanks to Ryan and Tim as always. A special thanks to Will for being here, and a special thanks to everybody listening and viewing. We will be doing our last call, which will be available on Patreon this Friday for free to everyone. If you are a member, it will be available immediately to you as soon as I can finish this tonight, depending on how many of these guys I continue drinking. But thanks everybody for joining, and go Panthers.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.